If you're thinking about moving and you want to learn about what everyday life is going to be like in your new town, this is the place for you. On Open House, we sit down with local, top producing real estate agents to help you find the best places to live in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you don't want buyer's remorse and you want to find your dream town, we are here for you. So go ahead and book a free call with us and we'll help guide you to the area that is right for you. Now, let's jump in and learn about your new home.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Open House Real Estate Network. I'm Mike, and today we're going to be talking with Dana Montgomery, a local resident and expert in the area of Smith Mountain Lake, Virginia. Dana, thanks for coming on with us today. To kick things off, how long have you been an agent?
Well, Mike, I've been an agent for a little over 19 years. And thank you for asking me to do this. I was nervous but excited all at the same time. But I've been in real estate for 19 years here at Smith Mountain Lake, and I've lived here my entire life. So I kind of call myself the Smith Mountain Lake homegrown girl.
Mm-hmm.
And so love living here, love to travel, but I always love coming home to Smith Mountain Lake.
So what made you take the dive into real estate?
I've always had an interest, even in my younger years, straight out of high school. Decided that probably no one would take me seriously at 19 years of age. So I went into another career, which was all in sales. And then I finally decided to follow my passion. And here I am 19 years later.
I mean, let's be honest. No one should take our 19-year-old self seriously. I wouldn't listen to a thing my 19-year-old self said.
So I went ahead and got some sales experience and then came back to the thing that I truly love to do.
Well, that's good because that translates relatively well. It's a necessary ability you have to have in this industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
the area of Smith Mountain Lake is, I wouldn't call it rural, but we're kind of teetering on that. It's got a very small town feel to it.
It definitely does. It is rural, and it's definitely a small town. We only have 3 stoplights, so not a high traffic area of any means, or a lot of big shopping and that kind of thing. But a great place to live. It has lots of outdoor activities. We have the Smith Mountain Lake, which you've got lots of activities there as far as boating, fishing, jet skiing, tubing, you name it. I mean, there's just tons of things that can be done on the lake.
I've found that those things that kind of weren't really selling points, like for a long time, are now the biggest ones when it comes to, the size and population of an area. Whereas now with the nature of things shifting, where so many people can work from home, so they can live wherever they want, you're seeing this uptick in value of I want my space, I want my personal space, my privacy. I want to be in a place with 3 stoplights, yeah. and where I know my neighbors, and people can put a higher premium on that because they can still stay in their same job.
Mm-hmm. And we have seen that a lot in the last 2 years with the pandemic. Even if, we had a lot of people that have second homes here that have now converted those to their primary homes. They're working from home. So we've seen the full-time residents increase, which is great for our local economy and our shops and stores and businesses. So we definitely have seen an increase in traffic, but it's nothing compared to like the DC area and that kind of thing. And we have had a lot of people move here full-time from those areas, Northern Virginia and DC markets.
Yeah, you're in that position where the place that was your kind of getaway home can now just be your main home, because that option is now available to you. What would you say the kind of median home price in the area is?
Well, we have such a wide variety of homes between condos, townhouses, single family waterfront, single family where you have lake access within your community. So it depends if it's single family waterfront. I'm going to go over the last 3 years. It ranged anywhere from like $700 to $1 million on average over the last 3 years for single family waterfront. Lots are averaging around 225 to 265 if you just have a vacant lot and this is waterfront. Condos, townhomes kind of average somewhere between 350 to 450.
Yeah.
And then if you get in the outskirts away from the lake area, more in the more rural areas where you have more acreage, and you're more in the 250 to 250,000 price range.
Yeah, obviously there's going to be a premium on that lakefront property. That kind of just goes without saying. And that is very much a situation where you are getting what you paid for.
Absolutely.
There's something to be said from waking up and being on a beautiful lake like that, and like, oh, I get to work from here, something like that. It makes a lot of sense.
And it's like having a playground in your backyard, basically.
Which, who knows? That might make it kind of difficult to actually get work done, because maybe you're really efficient in the wintertime and then really inefficient in the summertime when you're like, well, I could work, but I could also just go jet skiing. Why not? I'm just gonna do that.
I have a hard time sometimes balancing work and play in the summer months because I see all my friends out playing, and I'm like, I'm showing property, but I still get to enjoy being around the lake and seeing people out and enjoying the lake and boating and swimming and hanging out with friends, even if I am working.
Well, I guess your closest larger city would probably be Roanoke from there.
Roanoke, then Lynchburg.
Lynchburg as well.
A lot of people. I mean, they're both within like a 45-minute to an hour drive.
Yeah, which is nothing, because it's nice being city adjacent, where you have your small town that you can come home to with your privacy and your own space, but you also have the city areas that are not far away. It's a little boop, and then I'm there, and then you get to come home and stay on your beautiful lakefront property.
Right.
So yeah, it's nice to have all the amenities that you want out of a city without actually having to reside in said city.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So how long has Smith Mountain Lake kind of been around?
Well, Smith Mountain Lake is actually a man-made lake, and it was built when Smith Mountain Dam was built at the base of Smith Mountain. So that was in the early 1960s, and then in 1966 is when they considered the lake full pond, which is 795 feet above sea level. The lake is about 500 miles of shoreline. It's about 22,000, not quite 22,000 acres, and it's 40 miles long. So it's a large lake. It's the second largest lake in Virginia. So it was considered full pond in 1966.
That's really fascinating to we just made it. Like
just dug a hole and made it.
yeah. And then I'm sitting here like, why does no one dig any holes around my house? Like, I would love to suddenly be waterfront. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
So instead, someone just decided to create their own mini resort town and throw a dam up.
Yeah, and they actually generate power. So it's owned by American Electric Power, and so it serves and provides electricity for a lot of the state of Virginia and even outside of the state of Virginia.
Well, that's like I said, that's fascinating to know, because I would not have thought that. But then, and you also have the perk of how far away is the dam from Smith Mountain, like the kind of livable area?
It's not far. I mean,
No.
There's a lot of lakefront homes that can actually see the dam from their home. So it's the deepest part of our lake. I think it's maybe 250 feet deep at the dam. Overall average, I think we're like 50 or 55 feet deep on average throughout the lake.
So you also have there's probably a decent employment opportunity there as well, simply because dams don't run themselves.
Well, not so much. I mean,
Hmm.
basically, most of the people that live here, well, I'd have to say we have more retirees than anything. Um, we have the small shops and boutiques and small businesses and stuff that people will work. But for major careers, or if someone's still in their their primary years of working, they're traveling into Roanoke or Lynchburg, and probably the biggest healthcare is the biggest industry.
Gotcha.
So we have Carillion, Lewis Gale, and Centra healthcare providers, and so that manufacturing and banking, financial is probably our three top.
Gotcha. It's much like having all the amenities, right there in Roanoke. You also have all the business opportunities as well, and that's not too bad of a commute if you're so inclined.
No, we have a lot of people that do commute, but then, like we were talking earlier, we have a lot of people that still are working from home.
Have you seen an influx in your kind of single family type?
We really haven't seen a lot of new developments coming around, or spec homes from builders. It's still more custom built homes because our inventory levels right now are still fairly low. So we're over the last year, we definitely have seen a increase in new construction, but that's all custom homes.
Gotcha. Well, it's always nice when the inventory is at that right spot where it's like people are looking and you got to wait for something to come up, and then you got to snatch it as soon as it becomes available.
Got to move fast.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's obviously, from an entertainment side, there's obviously the lake itself, which is going to be fantastic in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Also in Virginia, I know there's a lot of trails, a lot of hiking and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm assuming there's going to be a decent amount there, being right next to a mountain.
Yeah. Well, we have Peaks of Otter. A lot of people like to go there and hike. We have the Smith Mountain Lake State Park that has hiking, biking, and walking trails. They also have cabins and where you can camp, a beach area that's open to the public. We have, D-Day memorials nearby, Booker T. Washington National Monument. For music, 20 minutes away, we have the Harvester, which brings in a lot of variety of different singer-songwriters and artists, and is a really cool place to go in the little small town of Rocky Mount, 20 minutes from here. And we also have every year, I think it's 32 years, we just had our Smith Mountain Lake Wine Festival, which is a huge event that is held every year, brings in thousands of people from all over the country.
I have to say that Virginia wine was not a thing that I expected to be good. It's one of those like, oh, Virginia wine, isn't that just like moonshine? Like, what are we talking about here? And then you realize that it's really good, and they have the right type of soil and things like that, and you see all these vineyards pop up, and it's like, wow, that's a great little day trip to go drink some wine, hang out,
all the wineries, you can go to. And we have distilleries here as well. We have several of those. And funny little thing about Franklin County. So our lake, there's 3 counties that border Smith Mountain Lake: Franklin County, Bedford County, and Pennsylvania County. Well, Franklin County has always been known as the moonshine capital of the world. So, some people know that, some people don't, but it's always kind of a funny thing to tell people.
Hey, everyone's got their niche. You got to know your lane, and
now that it's legal, we have some distilleries you can go to and do moonshine tasting.
Although that sounds incredibly fun, I don't know how long it's going to last. All right, we're going to do a day of moonshine tasting, and then you flash forward 45 minutes, and I'm just napping on a bench somewhere or something to that effect.
Need a limo driver.
Yeah, exactly. You got to rent the bus. You got to get the driver. You got to do all that.
Yeah.
So there's I would imagine a decent amount of locally owned businesses as well, be it your restaurants, your,
Mhm.
you know, your small shops and things of that nature?
They're mostly all locally owned, boutiques, restaurants, very few chain restaurants or anything. Well, we have a Wendy's,
No way.
um,
So
fast
yeah,
food. All of
I,
them are locally owned. I mean, we have some great restaurants. And what's really cool about it on the lake is, I think I counted, there's 15 that you can actually go to by boat, that they have docking that you can go to casually, in your bathing suit with the cover up on, go in and have lunch and just open air atmosphere. And so there's about 15 different restaurants you can go to on the water.
now see, that would be a fun day trip to just like,
Mhm.
yeah, let's just go eat and drink at all the restaurants inside the lake. See if we can hit all 15 before we tap out. You know,
And a
it's
lot of them have music, so live entertainment, and it's just really cool atmosphere and a lot
yeah.
of fun fun things to
There's a
do.
certain catharsis you get from, you know, buying local, shopping local, eating local, like where you know that like the people you're interacting with are people that are local in your area who you get to support with your dollars and vice versa. I'm sure in some situations, like that's such a good feeling to be like yeah, I'm gonna go get dinner, but also kind of helping out my neighbor, that type of deal.
Supporting our locals is really huge to everyone that lives here. Um, so I think they do see a lot of support, especially in the off season,
Yeah.
when the vacationers go home and, things kind of settle down. We definitely, the locals, we try to support our
Yeah.
businesses to keep them year round.
So I'm assuming that there is a decent amount of tourist activity given the lake and everything in the summertime.
Oh, yes, definitely. So a lot of people start out vacationing here, and then they end up buying maybe a condo or a townhouse as their second home after they've vacationed here for 10 years. They fall in love with it. And then eventually, as they grow older, they end up retiring here.
Yeah.
So,
It's one of those things that I always tell people, and I give people kind of looking to potentially buy in an area. The piece of advice that I normally give them is to go on a vacation. And what I mean by that is to check out the area, get an Airbnb, see if you like it, see if the vibe is what you're looking for, really experience it, and then say, okay, you know what? I think this might be the type of place for me.
and it's beautiful. It's an easy place to fall in love with. You've got the lake, you've got the mountains in the backdrop. It's a pretty mild climate overall, especially through the winter months, and lots of fun things to do in a kind of a low key, relaxed atmosphere.
So if you could give a piece of advice to someone thinking about moving to the Smith Mountain Lake area, what would that piece of advice be?
Well, first of all, I would find an agent that actually has the experience and the knowledge of the Smith Mountain Lake area. There's so many different variables and what types of property there, that we have here as far as waterfront versus, lake access. So find an agent that you can trust that really knows the lake and has a lot of knowledge and background that can help you find your perfect home.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where you really need to have kind of a connection with the agent, especially if you're looking at a place like this. You're not in a place where you're sorting through townhomes to figure out which townhome you want. It's like, no, there's a little more impact to this because of the nature of what you're looking for, be it, on the lake or whatever.
Exactly.
You want to find someone who, like you said, really knows the area, and someone who you have that connection with, where it's like, okay, we're on the same page. We both understand what I'm looking for in a place. That is very important.
Yes.
All right. Well, Dana, thank you so much for coming on with us today. I really appreciate it. I think everyone probably learned a good amount about Smith Mountain Lake. And if you're thinking about moving to the area, make sure to check out Dana's information below, give her a call, and I'm sure she'll help you set up your next home buying experience and make it a really smooth one.